Well, hello everybody, welcome back into the Color Gemstone Academy. I am Paul Deasy, your instructor, and this is my YouTube channel, Paul Deasy Gemstones. First of all, pay no attention to these lights behind me reflecting in the window. This is how you can tell Judy didn't help me with the setup here, but we're still looking out at the Caribbean Sea here in Belize and Central America. We'll be here for probably another few days and then heading back home to Florida, where our home isn't ready yet. Anyway, we have reached another important milestone. I now have over 2,900 subscribers. I want to thank each and every one of you. I couldn't have done it without you. I really appreciate that. I'd like you to help me get over 3,000. So if you have some friends maybe that you know and you love the content of the station, share it with them. Tell them to watch and maybe subscribe. If you don't like the content and you hate me, well, let's keep your opinion to yourself, okay? Thanks. Well, this is Q&A episode 30. This is one of my favorite things I do every single week, and I try like heck to make sure I do these every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern time in the United States. So this will be kind of nip and tuck because it's Wednesday morning now and I want to knock this out so I can get it on to you before I travel again. But anyway, this is where you send your comments, your questions, or your complaints, or your requests for something that you like to see. So I really like this, and I'm going to get right into it and start reading some of these questions and comments from you. Okay, number one comes from somebody who goes by the name of Galaxy J3. This person was watching episode 21, which was Turquoise 101, which is still the number one most viewed lesson on my channel, Turquoise 101, which is episode 21. She says, or he says, from Nevada, so beautiful. By the way, you could use some turquoise on your throat. That was it. I don't know what was meant by that. I don't know whether they meant they made a dagger out of turquoise and they wanted to slit my throat, or that it was maybe because I'm constantly clearing my throat, that if I wear turquoise around my throat. So it could be one of those mystical remedies. I don't know, but thank you so much for watching and thank you for the comment. I'm going to pretend it was a good one. Next one, Carolyn Lance from episode 74, Seraphinite, says, thanks for sharing your vast knowledge. It is absolutely my pleasure. I really do enjoy the subject matter. It's been the better part of my life for 30 years, so I really enjoy answering questions or doing lessons that people want to hear. So thank you, Carolyn, for the kind words. Here's one of my favorites. I hate to pick favorites, but Tommy Lynch, who has been a fan of this channel for some time now. And he also was watching episode 74, Seraphinite, and says, at the gem show in Jersey, Moldavite was rare, although I found a few vendors and spent a pretty penny on them. And that shiny shungite, it was not rough or dull, it was very glossy. What is all the hype? I know mines are closed over there, but there are Facebook pages and groups on YouTube who just love Moldavite. What's the hype, and is it really magical? I know you spoke of it before, but now it is like finding a rare Beanie Baby. Awesome class again. Well, Tommy, there's always a lot to unpack in your comment and your question there. First of all, you were talking about Moldavite, and then you were talking about shungite. And I think that you asked what's the hype in both of those things. I'll first start with the shungite. Shungite is a lot of people believe it has healing properties or calming properties, and it's not a very expensive gem. It's something that you can, and it's pretty, but the hype is really, I think, the healing properties, and that's really what that's sort of all about. I know we've talked in the past about do crystals have healing powers? Do they not? And I'll always say I'm somewhere in between. I'm not going to say absolutely it doesn't have anything to do with anything, because there is actual moving vibrations in gems, and different gems vibrate at different frequencies. But then again, as I've always said, you know, they say that amethyst can prevent drunkenness. Well, that's absolutely not true. But I think if you surround yourself with natural things and crystals and healing, that's probably a good thing. Now, your next question, which was a great one, was about moldavite and how the price is going up and how it's you paid a pretty penny and what's all the hype about that. This one's a little bit different to me. I've always liked moldavite. Now, moldavite is a tektite, and basically it's a form of glass. And there's been other gems that were glass-based over the years. I remember in the early days of the shopping channel, there was a big deal about helenite, which was, you know, created glass from Mount St. Helens after the eruption. So that was actually a manufactured gem that was made of glass. Now, you've probably heard of other glass gemstones like obsidian, and what do I call the type of obsidian? The Apache tears. That's naturally occurring glass from volcanic activity. And then there's also in some of the deserts in the Middle East where it gets very hot, or you have lightning strikes hitting the sand, silica, and that creates glass too. In the case of the moldavite, and they say moldavite, you know, is ethereal. It came from outside of our planet. Well, there's really two schools of thought about how the moldavite was really formed. It's a green tektite. It's beautiful in color, but was it a result of bringing this silica material from outside of our solar system, or as this big deposit in the Czech Republic or thereabouts was a big meteor striking the Earth that had so much intense, weight and pressure and heat that it melted the sand around it and it created this tektite glass. So it is an amazing thing. I would still find it hard to spend a great deal of money on something that's based in glass in its structure, but it's really is a cool story, and I think it's a great gemstone. So I hope that answers your question, as long-winded as my answer might have been. Okay, moving on. Sunny Gem, also from episode 74, which is our most recent, on Seraphinite. Oh, by the way, I have to acknowledge, and Judy caught this on my, in the beginning of that lesson, I called it the angle stone. I meant angel stone. So I transposed the G and the E. It's not an angle stone, although if you look at it at an angle, you're going to see those wings. So Sunny Gem says, "Hi Paul, I enjoy your gemstone lessons greatly. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Would you be able to give a lesson on fire obsidian?" Speaking of obsidian. I recently had the pleasure of mining obsidian for several days out in the Glass Buttes, Oregon area, and met one of the local mine owners, learned quite a bit about flint knapping over the weekend. An unexpected bonus to the trip, I make wire wrap jewelry and purchased a few gorgeous fire obsidian cabochons from him, as he is a lapidary shop owner / operator in the region. Would love to learn more about this great stone if you have the time. Thank you. First of all, Sunny Gem, great comment. I really appreciate that. You're reinforcing what I've been saying for a long time. If you ever get a chance to visit a mine and be there, you're always going to get that bonus lesson, just like you said, an unexpected bonus by being out there and learning from somebody. And believe it or not, don't be bashful in asking those kind of questions. I think it's great. Obsidian is yes, I will commit to do a full lesson on that. There's a lot of different types of obsidian that I have encountered in my life. From, I told you, the Apache tears. When you're walking around in Utah, you can see on the ground that black obsidian from all the volcanic activity from years ago. I was in another part of, I think it was Utah, and I visited, it's on one of my lessons, snowflake obsidian. That's another type of obsidian. I also saw a rainbow obsidian that was coming from Mexico, almost like an oily appearance to it. Just really, really pretty material. And fire obsidian, very similar to what you're talking about, all those, cascade of colors that you see in this incredible gemstone. And obviously the more color you see, the more you're going to pay for that material. But I will do a lesson. I'll try and get a couple of samples on there so I can show everybody what it looks like live, but I also can just put some pictures up. But a great, great question. I'm glad you had that experience of going to mine. I recommend it for everybody to get the opportunity to do that. By the way, when you see me looking down, I'm scrolling up your questions. I just put it on my computer and fire away. Dana Nicolau, hope I'm saying that right, from episode 74, Seraphinite says, hello, Paul. I started reading your book on colored gemstones, and I must say this is by far the best book on gemstones I've encountered so far. It's very informative, information perfectly structured, and the illustrations are amazing. Thank you, Dana. That's very kind of you to say. It was definitely a labor of love when I did that colored gemstone book and then subsequently the opal book. And I really wanted to make it informative, but I wanted it to be easy to read. A lot of times there's so many things and chemical formulas that I think put people to sleep, so I wanted to make it very relevant. But I wanted whoever reads that book to be able to have an intelligent conversation in any jewelry store you walk into, and you'll probably know more or as much as the person behind the counter who's helping you if you read the book. But anyway, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Okay, next we have Colin Creedon from the episode of Conch Pearls, episode 73. It says, great episode. What about the importation or commercial sales of the Conch Pearls because of CITES? C-I-T-E-S. It bans the import of meat or shell. The pearls are cut up in this. And it's in certain Caribbean countries. It is hard to prove origin of a pearl. Plus, the conch pearl is a byproduct of the fishing industry and not the reason the conch is harvested. I'm fortunate to have access to these beautiful pearls, as location is everything for this rare gem. Greetings from beautiful Belize, somebody who's right here from Belize where I'm doing this lesson. So that's Colleen. And Colleen, you're right. Terrific points on a lot of ways. There is, and for those who don't know what CITES are, C-I-T-E-S. That's the convention, C, of international, I, trade, T, and endangered, E, species, S. So that's CITES. So the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora. They don't put that in the acronym. You're correct. That it's nearly impossible to prove the origin of a pearl. But it's also really difficult to have the exact origin of many gemstones. I'll give you a couple of examples. Sleeping Beauty. Even though that mine has been closed for many, many, many years, it seems like you're seeing more and more coming out. And I think the reason that the Gemological Institute of America doesn't get involved in this discussion is they can't prove it. You can't really prove. There's other gems that have had robin's egg blue color. In fact, Kingman has created some with no matrix. So diamonds, another great example. Everybody talks about the blood diamonds and the conflict diamonds. And for years, people would get diamonds from the areas of the conflict diamonds in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and then ship them to South Africa. So they could ship them from South Africa to somewhere else and say, oh, these are South African diamonds. So it's almost impossible to determine exactly where a gem came from. Sometimes you can, like, for example, when you're looking at an emerald from Colombia versus an emerald from Zambia, the color is sometimes decidedly different, but also there seems to be more of a natural platinum in the chemical makeup of the emeralds that come from Colombia. So things like that. But yeah, it's really, really difficult. But you're right, CITES is a big concern when you're talking about the conch pearl. But you're right, it's also harvested as a food, and the pearl is just secondary. They're not going after the animal for the pearl. It's just a happy accident if you get one. So I hope that answers your question, and I'm glad to be in your country of Belize right now. Okay, I think this is going to be the last one, because I've been verbose as usual. This one is a new subscriber to this channel. Goes by the name of Urban Scout, and this is from episode 70 on the Charoite, another gem I love. It says, I literally just found your channel. I'm loving what I've seen so far. I started thinking about becoming a gemologist at the beginning of the month. Now this video is recommended to me. Looks like fate. Love that. I'm going to enroll in the GIA next month now. Big thank you for making these videos. Also, thank you to Judy. I will tell Judy. Thank you for thinking of her as well. Great question. He had a subsequent question I'll talk about in a second. But let me first talk about the GIA. And I don't want anyone to be intimidated by those classes. And certainly they have a campus in Carlsbad, California. They have an office in New York. But they have a distance education for learning, which is the way I did it all those years ago when I first started. You can take classes online and take a proctored exam, or go to, in my case, I went to the New York office and took the exams up there. It's a great way to learn about gems, and knowledge is power. So I wish you well on your journey. Please keep me posted on how you continue to do. It's a wonderful world, and I highly recommend it. His subsequent question, which was another great one, said, he also asked, didn't they dam up the area, making charoite impossible to mine? Also, isn't there some found in Mongolia that got washed down the river? Okay, great points both. And as I said, this will be the end of the lesson, but this always happens in the mining business. There is basically only one location where you can mine the charoite in Russia. In every example of mine that I've ever visited, there is washing that goes down. In fact, when you're in the Southwest in Turquoise, and you see all these people that have a knack, a nose for finding the turquoise, they're looking at the mountains, they're looking at the valleys, and when they start to see blue anywhere that had washed down, they know they're not at the source now, but they will follow it back up to that source. Same is true of the pristine mine that Judy and I visited in Nevada. As we were getting closer and closer and closer to where the source of the mine was, there was a big gully, because they get some violent rains up in the desert, and it washes everything off of the mountain. And we saw the result of that. So that white, that we finally went to the source and saw the white where you could actually see this pristine right on the ground. A lot of the other smaller pieces wash miles down the side of this. So yes, absolutely, you could have charoite. And even if they've dammed it up and they can't mine it anymore, there's always going to be some that gets washed by. That said, I don't think we have to worry about the supply really yet, because it was estimated there's probably 100,000 pounds of material, 100,000 pounds. And they only maybe went through 1,000 pounds a year in mining this material. So I would guess they have enough for years to come. It doesn't mean the prices won't go up. Just like everything else, when something starts to get more scarce, the price may go up. I still think it's a relatively affordable gem that you can really enjoy without spending a fortune. And certainly a lot more affordable than sugilite, which sort of favors that stone as well. But anyway, welcome to the channel, Urban Scout. I look forward to more great questions from you. But that's going to do it for this week's lesson on our Q&A series. I'm still figuring out what I'm going to do for our Colored Gem Academy gemstone for Saturday, but I'll probably shoot that tomorrow. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. If you have not yet done so, please hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you a penny, but it really does help me out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on the Colored Gemstone Academy. Bye, everybody.